One, and your intro. This is, you could dance your way in. Welcome. You can do whatever you want to do here. There's no rules, Michelle.
No rules at all. So, all right, here we go.
Right.
Welcome back to the Unhinged Hygienists, where we challenge outdated thinking. We ask uncomfortable questions and occasionally ruffle a few feathers along the way. Say that 5 times fast.
Don't say it fast at all.
Don't.
But today's guest is basically the queen of doing just that, ruffling all the feathers and all the feathers.
We like that. So,
I love that.
Michelle Strange has spent over 25 years in dentistry. She's a practicing hygienist, an educator, an entrepreneur. She is so much. She's a speaker, infection control expert, and founder of multiple successful businesses. And now she's a dental hygiene practice owner, which is pretty amazing.
Which is incredible. That is
Thank
got to be
you.
the future of dental hygiene.
I hope so.
And I can't
And
wait
that
to pick your
you've
brain about
done
that.
all that while practicing.
Yeah, on and off throughout the years. I think the longest I ever went was a year without seeing patients.
And then you get a little itchy. You're like, I
Yeah.
need some calculus.
I do.
in my head.
I really do. Yeah, exactly
See?
that.
You like that. You get a little itchy. You want to do all the things. But I have to say, what I love, and I think what we, the Unhinged Hygienist group, will love, is that you have never been willing to accept that this is just the way it's always been done, is an answer that will suffice.
Never. Actually, it just
Well.
pisses me off every time somebody
Good.
says it.
Atta girl.
It pisses me off. Yes, and then I get real spicy. So I'd have to know that that's my trigger, and that I need to take a deep breath before I respond.
I love that.
That's
See?
me in the dental hygiene group. So I'll be like, Lauren,
Oh,
can you believe they said this?
Oh,
Because I watched one of yours where you were saying, if people ask you, then you're like, oh, you're wrong. And you're like on, PubMD trying to find, to prove that, you are
Yes.
correct. There's
yes.
evidence behind
I do
this,
it less these days because I've definitely see that you can't change everybody on the internet. But I actually just recently gave a course on disinformation in the digital age. And on some of the studies that I was reading, one of them said that you can't really go after the main person because that main person spreading the disinformation that's their personality, right? Like if you go after them, that cognitive dissonance will kick in, and that's their personality now, and it's hard to change that.
Yeah.
But the other people watching the interaction have more of an opportunity to listen and adjust because they're watching it. So they don't have that attachment just yet to the information. And so I'm trying to keep that in the back of my head that okay, maybe I might not have the energy to go after the main person, but if I do, I could maybe have this trickle down effect where it will help others to see maybe multiple points in the conversation. Because it's not that I'm always right. I definitely I think all of us now at this point understand that nothing is black or white. There is going to be a lot of nuance to anything interacting with people and humans and science and research. However, maybe another point of view might be helpful.
Yeah.
It's always just good to have another point of view.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things, because clinicians, I feel like we always get pigeonholed into, I have all the answers, I'm right. And then it becomes your personality and you really own it. So I think that's a good point about just kind of disseminating more information, more opinions, because that's why we all get to where we are in our elevated state, is we find something that was kind of outside of what we were taught. So you go for the middle 80. Don't go for the squeaky wheels on the side. Hit the normal people in the middle. That's the way I've always thought about it. And I mean, especially Tasia and I love to talk about some weird stuff and in our personal life and our professional life and whatever. And I feel like everyone like you and all the people that we really want to have on this are the disruptors who are like, hey, have you ever thought of this? And I feel like I appreciate what you're doing out there, sister.
We're the ones that are going to make a change, right? If you're just kind of going down your little merry path of, not being curious, not asking questions,
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing that we ask people to do, is just be curious. And even if they didn't like what you said in the group, that should trigger them to go find their own information. If you say the sky is purple or the earth is flat or fluoride is bad or, whatever, I feel like whatever it is that like triggered somebody, that should be ooh, let me try to find this out. And then
Yeah.
you go down your own rabbit hole. Curiosity is very important.
Yes. And I would throw out there, go into it, please, trying to disprove your point.
Agreed. Yeah.
Like that is the way that we should be researching. We should be like trying to prove the null hypothesis, not the hypothesis. And
Yep.
I know I didn't do that in the beginning. I had to, I got my master's in dental hygiene education. I had to do all this research and stuff to learn how to disprove your point was something that was never taught. Well, if it was taught to me, I didn't grasp it for a while.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
that we have the, do your own research crowd of folks out there in the world, I'm just like reminding people, please try to go, prove your null hypothesis more than your hypothesis.
That's
That's
actually
true.
really good information. Yeah. I had never even
Thanks.
thought about that. But now
Because
I'm going
then
to
you'll
look at
be
it
able to
differently. Yeah.
find because if you go in to try to prove your hypothesis, you're really going to have your dissonance where you're going to try to prove this thing, and you're going to word the questions in your research
Yep.
and in your PubMed study or search, you're
Yeah.
going to try to prove yourself right. But if you try to
Yep.
disprove yourself and you actually end up proving yourself, like that's a way,
Yeah.
like a much stronger stance for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. I think that is an interesting point because we get so attached to whatever we feel like we thought we knew. And
Yeah.
I mean, we could bring it back down to, is coffee good for you or not? Like you could find a study
Yeah.
either way.
Yeah.
So however you
Yes.
put the
Yeah.
prompt in
Exactly.
is like, hey,
Exactly.
am I doing okay or am I hurting myself? Like that's
Yep.
a good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
Exactly.
find
Hmm.
arguing posts both sides. But Michelle,
Yeah.
I love that you're just helping push the profession
Mhm.
forward. Like you're showing hygienists that we can be leaders, innovators, business owners. Because a lot of us, and even me until recently, like you just feel like you're just going in, we're cleaning teeth, and that's it. Like there's not much room for any type of opportunity or growth. Because I would always tell patients, it's not like nursing where you can be a nurse practitioner. You work in like different
Yeah.
practices. Like you can do dermatology, you can do endocrinology, rheumatology. Like there's a lot more of a broader scope. But I think that there is in dental hygiene. It's just now we're starting to kind of find those pathways, which is
We're
kind of
seeing it.
nice. And it's people like you who are
Yeah,
kind of like moving those paths forward. So I'm excited.
absolutely. I think that the people listening, if anyone really has ever thought about how to evolve, like you said, Tasia, how do we become more like our other medical health kind of equivalents? Because I think a lot of us felt like we were stuck in a box and we were stuck in this only clinical scrape, scrape, scrape kind of thing. And each one of us who does something different shows that there's a new possibility. So I think this episode is for anyone who is really interested in how we can evolve and
I like
how you
that.
can be a disruptor of your own world, but then
Mhm.
also just our little box that we were kind of stuck in. So
Because there's
thanks.
like the Michelle Stranges
Yeah.
of the world and like
Mhm.
Katrina Sanders of the world and Amber Augers. And
Yeah.
it's like you can do so much more. And, a lot of us look up to you guys and everything you've done. But it's like even the hygienist right now that's sitting listening, you can become that person as well because someone's going to listen to you and be like, oh my God, yes. One of my hygienists that I worked with, she's like, I don't, I've never met a hygienist like you. Like, you're so passionate. She's like, but there's really no change. And I'm like, unless we all come together
Yeah.
and find our
Yeah.
tribe, we are the ones that are going to create that change. You can't just expect it to happen. Just sit there and complain and do nothing about it. Like, we have to move that forward.
Yeah. And,
Agreed.
I want everybody to know that I definitely felt very stuck. After like I think maybe my second year as a dental hygienist, I was in a really toxic office. I learned so much, but it was such a toxic office. And and my body's already starting to hurt me, all the things, right? And I'm
Mhm.
just like, what did I do? And my
Mhm.
sister had just graduated as a nurse, and I was like, did I go into the wrong profession? Should I have been a nurse? And then I could have been a nurse practitioner, and I could have been, or, even a physician's assistant, something else that would allow me to grow. Because at that point, I was already seeing that I loved what I did. I loved the science. I graduated top of my class. Like I knew I could get the grades. And then I
Mhm.
just felt stuck. And I was like,
Mhm.
shit, like, did I just spend this time and money and now I'm here, and then what? like, and which is so silly because at the time I was like 24, 25 when I'm having these thoughts and feelings, and my brain's like, well, I can't go back to school and do it again.
Yeah.
Whereas now
Oh,
I'm
you're too old at
40.
25.
Yeah. Right. And I'm here 44, like buying a
Yeah.
practice and, nowhere near retiring anytime soon. So it's very, I just want everybody to hear, like, I actually had these thoughts, these feelings, thought I went into the wrong
Mhm.
profession, but
Mhm.
that's actually when I was started, I don't know, I was feeling trapped, and that's when I started like tearing at
Yeah.
like the edges
Yeah.
of like, what can I be? How
Yeah.
can I progress? How can I save myself after this education that I love, and I love this career, I love this industry, but how can I move forward? And that's when I started looking at um dental therapists, because that was being rumored back
Mhm.
then. This was probably
Mhm.
2007, 2008. Um, I looked at, teaching. I looked at all these different things that I could do. And that's when I went back and got my bachelor's, and then I went and got my master's. So it's, you know, uh, it didn't take overnight. And I definitely tried a lot of things that just didn't fit within my soul. But
Mhm.
just know that like this wasn't something where I was like, oh, I have this the robust career and I'm going to go do this, and this. Like it was more out of survival than
Yeah.
anything.
Where did your journey start? What state did you get your initial license in?
South Carolina. So,
Oh,
I practiced there for the majority of my career, and
okay.
since I've been on the travel circuit of being a dental hygienist, I had to actually go back and get my anesthetic
Mhm.
certification because I could do only infiltration in South Carolina. I was
Mhm.
very stuck too, which I think that's also the thing is like in South Carolina. I think if I'd grown up here in Colorado and got my license here in Colorado, that would have been a very
Damn different.
different first few
Yeah,
years of my career. But because I was in
absolutely.
South Carolina, I felt very trapped, if you will.
Yeah.
How did you even start the roaming hygienist? Like, that's something I've always wondered why, like, travel nurses can go wherever they want, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
why can't we be travel hygienists? Like, how did that journey even happen?
Yeah, I mean, you
And
can
then
if
where were
you
you
want
allowed to
to.
work?
You can do it if you spend some money getting your license, and
Oh,
it's not easy.
okay.
Eventually, I think when we start having the compact, it'll be a lot
Mhm.
easier. Sorry, I'm
Mhm.
just going to plug in my computer. Something is not charging, and I'm going to put my other plug on. Sorry
Okay.
about that,
Yes, we don't want
just to
we
make
do not want
sure.
this to
No.
end.
Yes.
That compact is really interesting. I think
There
that
we go.
here in Nevada, we've been talking a lot more about that because
There we go.
we have a dental therapist allowance in our licensure here, but there aren't
Mm,
any because you can't do it. You can only do it
yeah,
in certain counties. Here in Vegas or up in Reno, you're not allowed to have it because it's all about the rural communities and access to care.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a carrot that's being dangled, and I feel
yeah,
like the compact is the same, that it's out there, but nobody's
yeah.
actually being able to progress it.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know where it stands right now. I know they were waiting on like another state to come on, so they had I don't 7 or 8. Don't quote me on any of this, but I just remember I thought it did happen. So I think we're slowly working our way there. I'll tell everybody though, there are some temp companies that will help you and actually go get your license for you and do a lot of the work.
Oh, wow.
So they do exist.
That's
I want to say there was some in like Wisconsin, Montana area, and then like Virginia, Maryland, the DMV area right there. So there
Mm,
are companies out there that do staffing and stuff like that. So
that's
even if you
that's
don't want to go
cool.
out and do it on your own, you could work with a company that would help you get there.
Because I said after my divorce, I would have loved where I can just get an RV and just go like
I
2
love
weeks every
it.
state and just like
mhm.
go. That would have been
I
fantastic.
That's what travel
genuinely
nurses do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Best 3 years of my life. It's traveling is not for everybody. I
Mhm.
am adapt very easily to new environments. I have
Mhm.
raging ADHD, so mobile portable dentistry is
I
great
feel
for
you.
Yes.
me. Travel life is very easy for me. So I adapt really well. the reason I started roaming was because in 2020 I got, stuck like the rest of the world, right? And up
Mm,
until then, I had for the 7, 8 years prior to that been traveling internationally, traveling this country, and to get stuck in your home state and just kind of sit in your life. It was
Yeah.
I didn't like it. I didn't like it. It felt icky. I really looked around and I
mhm.
said, these are not my people. This is not my place.
Yep.
But I apparently was getting my fill of culture and big conversations and um international like things that are just different everywhere you
Mhm,
go. And when I got stuck in South Carolina, I was like, nope, this is not it, this is not it. And so
mhm.
I literally said, I had this dream of like every 3 months for 1 year. I was just like, it was always just 1 year. Every year, every 3 months, I'd love to go to a big city that I've been a tourist in or came for a
Mhm,
conference and just like assimilate for a few months and just check it
mhm.
out, see what it feels like, and then leave. And so I did that, but I did it for 3 years and it was great.
I
That's
love it.
awesome.
Where all
That
did you
is
Yeah.
go? Where did that
I
journey take
started
you?
in Florida. I
Okay.
did not get my license in Florida because obviously they're insane.
So
And
hard.
yeah,
I
like
just
it
went
just,
through that process a couple of years ago, and we
yeah.
just went through the renewal right now, and I was like, "Dude, how many hoops can you have, people?"
While
Jeez.
crying that we don't have enough hygienists. So I would
Correct.
like to specifically
Correct.
call out each state that I've had trouble
Yep.
in because the irony that
Mhm.
you're hurting so badly for
Mm.
hygienists, but you make it this hard.
Yes.
So I did start at Florida, and then I decided on a whim to change up and go to New Orleans, and I lived there for a
nice.
few months, and I did try to get my license there, but they were like, it'll be maybe 12 weeks and like
Mhm.
mail in this application and a check. And I
Yeah.
was like, a check? Like,
What's a check?
first of all, I got to go find stamps and envelopes, and like, this is just too much. And I might be gone by the time I even get like
Yeah.
Yeah.
any like word that I am approved. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to get ahead of this if I'm gonna decide what state I go to. So I went ahead and applied for my license in Colorado because I wanted to go there. I wanted to
Mhm.
ski for the season. So
Mhm.
I ended up coming to Colorado, and I stayed here for a while because I filed a lawsuit over my last podcast as a resident of Colorado. So I had to kind of park it there for a little bit. And honestly, it made it more convenient for me to not like go find legal mail being sent all over this
Yeah.
country. So it
Mhm.
Yeah.
made more sense just to park
Mhm.
it here. And so I actually ended up staying here, I think a year and a half, but I did Steamboat and Evergreen and downtown Denver and Lone Tree. I was like all over all over Colorado, which I really loved. And then I went and did Smiles Across Montana with Crystal Spring and her team in Montana,
Right.
which was
Awesome.
fabulous. I just went to go do that for 4 months, but I hit a deer on one
Oh,
Oh no.
on my way to one of the clinics, and my car was out of commission for about three
oh
months.
gosh.
So I ended
Oh
up
Lord.
staying a little longer because
Okay.
keep in mind, I'm towing a 12-foot trailer all over this country with me.
Let's say, what
So
are you living in? You're literally in a
yeah,
travel trailer?
no, I'm actually living in travel nurse housing. So
Interesting.
because I applied as a traveling healthcare professional, so there's
Uh-huh.
some websites that really tailor how like their
Mhm.
rentals to travel
Mhm.
nurses specifically, but really any travel healthcare provider. So I just did that, and so I stayed in Montana for a little longer. And a lot of them are also very used to nurses extending their stays, and so like that situation, I was just like, anybody behind me? If not, can I just like take it out a few
Yeah.
more months? And,
Yeah, right?
it worked out. And then I went to Arizona where I was actively getting my license there. And then once I got there, um, they were like, I signed up because as you go and get your license in all these different states, each one is very different. Some will have like, you can license by credential, license by exam. They're just all very different. You got to take your jurisprudence ethics. Some
Yeah.
you don't. Some you have to prove to get your fingerprints. Like there's so many
Yeah.
different things for
Mhm.
each state. And so I was trying to credential by, I can't remember what it was. but the cheaper version for Arizona, because I didn't want to spend a lot of money, obviously.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
were like, no, you have to do it by credentialed, which is $1,000
Yeah.
for your license
Naturally.
without anesthesia,
Oh.
first of all.
Mhm.
And I was like, the hell? I was like, but for what? Like, what am I doing? Where does this $1,000 go? And they're like,
Mhm.
and at top of this podcast, they said, well, it's always been like that. And I said, get the
Mhm.
fuck out of here. I'm moving
Yeah.
on. I said,
Exactly.
I'm not coming. And the reason I was
No.
coming there was because they had just passed neuromodulators and Botox training. Like you could do that in
Mhm.
Arizona. And I was like, I want to go add that to my roster of
Mhm.
things that I can
Mhm.
do.
Mhm.
And so I was getting my training while I was waiting on my actual like license to process. And then they told me that it'd be $1,000 without anesthesia. And I was like, You know what? And I said to Arizona, you need hygienist. No, you need
Yeah.
hygienist.
Yeah.
But you're going to charge me $1,000.
Yeah.
And if you had said like this $1,000 goes to auditors to make sure everybody's doing the proper, infection control, this thing goes to making sure that, I don't know, something amazing for our profession.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We give back, we do dental access day to give back. Like, I don't care. Give me something other than it's always been like this. And I'm
Right.
like, peace. I'm going to
Oh.
go back to
Wow.
Colorado where I can do
Yeah.
all the cool things.
Yeah.
There has to be some sort of person listening that's on a governmental board. If this ever reaches
Please.
anyone, please hear this. I mean, it's so
Yes.
irritating because to your point, everybody bitches that there's not enough of us, but you're
Yeah.
making it extremely
So
difficult.
hard.
And
Yep.
then you want to tell us that it's not going any, it's just bureaucracy, right? It took
Yeah.
me with the Florida license, I had to drive to Arizona to take another exam on a face, what is the thing? A typodont. And I was
Yeah.
like, dude, I've been a hygienist for like 20 years. Why do I need to sit with the
Right.
new grads in order to do this? But then I had to do the computer test again, then I had to do the fingerprints. And
Kudos to
so
you.
I mean,
Because
I
I would have been like,
Tizzy
nope.
and I are both licensed in multiple states, and I'm like, between Illinois, Nevada, and Florida,
Mm-hmm.
Florida has been
Yeah.
extremely difficult. When I went to, because I worked in Germany too, and they were super easy. So anyone who wants to go work
Right.
in
It's
Germany,
insane.
super easy.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
yeah.
Well, Massachusetts, I should say, not just Boston, because I thought about going up there for a little bit. They were like, you need to go get a physical examination by a doctor. And
Really?
I was like, to confirm that you can do, and I was like, the fact that I was a hygienist yesterday, not good enough.
Doesn't mean
And
anything. No.
two,
Mm-mm.
we don't get healthcare as a
Right.
Yeah.
hygienist. So now I gotta pay a God knows how much money to
Right.
now go get this physical exam to say that
Yeah.
I can be a hygienist. Uh, it's it's it doesn't make sense. There's no
No.
standardization, which is what
No.
pisses me off the
Yeah.
most. Um, like, but also there's no standardization what we can do from state to state either. So I
Yeah.
guess that makes sense at the end of the day.
Right.
I
Wouldn't
mean,
it
and
be?
this was
It'd be
it's a
so nice if
genuinely
it was
good
all
question.
just,
Yeah.
you can go
Yeah.
wherever the hell
Yeah.
you want. Like, it's just crazy. New York was really easy to get licensed in.
Because they're
Well, that's
smart and
And
they
it,
good.
want
yeah.
you guys.
Yeah.
When I tried to explain to my German dentist and my hygienist friends over there that I had to apply for this whole other licensure when I moved back and went to Vegas, they were like, but isn't it all America? And I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, every
We are
state's very
50
different.
countries. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
we
we're
are
50
50
countries.
countries.
But then even then, you think about New York City within New York, like Chicago thought it was its own state too. And the
Yeah.
licensure within the city was different than
Well,
the suburbs. I'm
51
like,
because you got DC,
yeah,
technically. Yeah, they're all
yeah.
different. It's silly.
Yeah.
It's
No, it's
truly
amazing.
silly.
It's ridiculous. That's
I'd,
but thank you for being out there and being vocal about helping
yes.
this move forward because this is it. So, but I
Yeah.
mean, maybe is this the whole point? They're trying to keep us kind of in this little space that we're annoyed by just our reciprocity isn't accepted. So now we're not even going to talk about being mid-level nurse practitioner level practitioners.
Well, and I think that this is actually why I get so much pushback about being a practice owner in Colorado is
Mhm,
because it does come from other states where
mhm,
they have the boot on the neck of hygienist. And so
mhm,
they cannot comprehend in their
mm,
brain how a hygienist in Colorado can do so much. And I was like,
yeah.
it's because you keep us down in other
Yeah.
states. That's why.
Yeah, Colorado's been so progressive all the way around. Like, the
Well,
further west you get.
yeah, and I'm gonna just throw this out here. Oh, with all due respect to Colorado, I would not put them in a progressive side of
Ah, okay, okay,
they are a you do you and I do me until it's a
okay,
problem, and then we'll deal with it.
okay.
It's
Okay.
not like, oh, let me think about what this could look like and how are we get it.
Mhm.
They're progressive in the sense that, like, sure, we see access to care issues. Sounds like if you want to go do that, go do that. They let it
Yeah,
happen, but they're not like progressive in the sense that, like, I don't know. It's just an
they're
interesting space over
tolerant.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're just more of like, it's when it's a problem, we'll deal with it. And until it's
yeah,
a
okay,
problem, we're not going to deal with it. And I'm like,
okay.
okay,
See?
that's one way of
Mm.
dealing with it.
So is Colorado, can you do more as a hygienist in Colorado than say like Minnesota, or is it pretty
Oh,
comparable?
I think Colorado is probably top of
Top.
the tier as far as what hygienists can do. I might be wrong, maybe, or like there's a version of that in like Oregon, Maine,
Hmm.
Washington, California. I think there's
Mhm.
some type of this everywhere, but I can work completely independent of a dentist within my scope. So SRPs, I can give anesthetic. I
Yeah.
can do hygiene diagnosis, which then allows me to bill out for periodic exams and do x-rays and really practice in all types of settings without
Mm.
having any kind of dentist involvement. I
It's
don't
wonderful.
necessarily agree with all of that because the way that I engage, I uh, refer out all day, every day. Like, I don't want to be in this by myself. But the fact that I can roll up into a nursing home and document like crazy and do and inflammation reduction for perio and
Hmm.
prophies and prescribed fluoride varnish, different things like that, without having to go through the steps of
Mhm.
teledentistry, get an exam, all these things that
Yeah.
prolong very important treatment for some of these
Mhm.
people.
Yeah. No, that's
It's
pretty
very
amazing.
cool.
It'd be nice
Mhm.
to see it one day in our in our
In each
Yeah.
lifetime
state.
in each
And don't
state.
get me wrong, like, there's a lot that I do need some kind of collaborate. Like, I had to get extra certification for SDF. I
Mm.
will be able to do like HPV vaccines towards the end of the
Oh,
year, but I do
nice.
have to have some kind of like agreement, medical director kind of thing. I'll be able to do Botox and stuff like that, but that also needs a medical director or dentist overseeing it. I can do interim restorative therapy, but I do have to have a collaborative agreement with a dentist. So there are some things that I do here that I do have an agreement or partnership with a dentist that
Mhm.
says that they will help me if I had a problem.
Hmm.
Lasers is one of them, but I can do all of this within my practice
Yeah.
without all those extra steps that prolong treatment, which
Yeah.
is annoying. And some other states have to go through those hoops.
It's amazing because I feel like most dentists are so annoyed by most of us hygienists. They don't want to,
Right.
like, do they want to come do exams
Seriously.
constantly?
No,
No,
Like,
they do
exactly.
let us
not.
do
No, they
us.
do
Let us
not.
do what we want to do because half of them call us lost leaders anyways. So it's like,
Yep.
if we're such lost leaders and there's such a shortage, let us open up
Let
our
us
own and do
free.
our own. And then we
Open the
can refer to
cage.
you when, like, are they so scared of what? They're not going to make money? Like, what is
You
it? I
know,
don't know.
I think it's multi-layered or multifactorial, if you will. Like, there's a lot that make them think that we are not helpful. One, I think there's some hygienists out there that are not doing their job. I think
Hmm.
there
Mhm.
are some hygienists out there that clock in, clock out, do not do CE, do not progress. They are
Mhm.
practicing
Yep.
dental hygiene the same exact way that they did when they were in school. And I don't care what decade they graduated, they're still doing
Yep.
it the same. Those
Exactly.
are problematic hygienists in my
Yep.
book. But there's
Yeah.
also for every hygienist, there's a dentist doing the same exact thing. So then I'm
Yeah.
Exactly.
like, what are you gonna like? Okay,
Hmm.
so I get what you're saying, but like I had to work under the person doing the same
Yep.
exact thing that you're complaining about. I think that it's a scarcity mindset of
Mhm.
the way that I sell my practice is based off of a lot of my hygiene department, and they just don't see that benefit. And I think also they think that, or they don't see that if they could do other things and be more progressive in the things that they're offering and maybe have a small hygiene department, you could still sell that. Like
Mhm.
prosthodontists do it all the time, right? Oral
Mhm.
surgeons do it all the time. Like there is a world where we can change up how we sell and evaluate practices that is not based
Mhm.
Mhm.
off of your hygiene side. But also, I think that they think once they lose that patient, they're not coming back. And
Yeah.
when I tell
Right.
you the people who refer to me and like working with me is because they know I'm sending that patient
Yeah.
back and they had to do nothing for that. They
Yeah.
did not
Yeah.
have to get up and do a hygiene exam. They did not have
No.
to do marketing and SEO. They did not have to do anything. I
Mhm.
just said, you need to go, like, this is a problem. I am concerned. Here's what I'm seeing. Or confirm, yes, I
Yeah.
totally agree with what that dentist is seeing and saying, and
Mhm.
I think that's a great solution for the problems that I'm seeing for you. And then they get their patient back in the chair.
I think
That's
it's just such a
wonderful.
better overall system of how it
Yeah.
could
It
work.
is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just
And not everybody has to do it.
no.
Not everyone has to
That's true.
practice this
Yeah.
way, but we should all have the opportunity to
Yeah.
Should have the
practice this way.
opportunity. Well,
Hmm.
and like to your point, I think if this is going to push forward the dentist who has the scarcity mindset, because they're obviously still practicing the way that they learned. It's like every time I meet a dentist who
Probably.
does his own hygiene, I'm like, why? Why are
Oh,
you? You're not a hygienist. Why? Why did you want to do the least of your scope of practice? Why don't you want to push yourself? Like us three are trying to push ourselves to the maximum of our scope of practice. And why does that scare a provider who could be doing 18 times more as far as like what they're allowed to make, which I think is for me what's always been prohibitive as far as moving forward with the dental therapist, because I'm going to go have to drop $200,000 on becoming a dental therapist. And
Yeah.
then I have to stay in the 51% poverty level, as far as my intake of patients or something. And I'm just like, why would I want to do that? And then we become the diva. So
that was
of course
Oh,
like
that won't.
yeah.
that one office
Yeah.
in Vegas. Do you remember when my first job? It was the first DSO I ever worked. I won't mention any names, but they would give me like the doctors would do profies,
Mhm.
and I would get one Montana Jack and sometimes two Gracies to do a prophy. And I'm like,
Wow.
hello. We had one Cavitron with three tips that we would share. And I remember they
Mhm.
would do the profies, and I literally like I might have like quit like the next day, but I was like, I did not realize you went to school to be a dental hygienist. I'm like,
Mhm.
congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are giving everyone perio. That's what we're
Congrats.
doing.
Right.
Yes.
But maybe that's what you
Yes.
want. But that's
Exactly.
not I
See?
want to prevent
Mhm.
disease. That's
There's
the
that
difference,
too.
So
Hmm.
How is this?
Yep.
This is where, okay, Michelle, I want your opinion on should we have our own board? Because I keep
Oh,
running up
yeah.
against, right? Because why are dental hygienists, like our profession, dentists depend on us not doing our job well or to the most of our scope or our full preventative capabilities, because if we prevent all the stuff that they fix, of course we're a lost leader because we're doing what we're supposed to do.
yeah.
But only if they're doing the same shit another day. If
Yeah.
they're actually, trying to do veneers or ortho or airway
Yeah.
or sleep
Hmm.
or any of the
Yeah.
gazillion other
Yep.
things that dentistry is doing to manage oral systemic health. Like,
Hmm.
sure, their bread and butter is drill, fill, class two
Yeah.
Yep.
composites all day, every day.
Yep.
Sure, yeah, they don't like us at all. But if you get your head out of, you know what, like you really could be doing so much more for
Yeah.
Yeah.
humanity and also your body, because some of
Yeah.
that other stuff is way easier. But I digress. I do think that, yes, we should have a board. And actually, I was just speaking to a group of hygienists at a conference that I was at a few weeks ago. And um, there, I think it's Virginia that just passed, where assistants can do some hygiene job
Mm.
or hygiene stuff.
And
I don't,
Alabama.
yeah,
Mhm.
well, they just passed it. It was like an OPA, like that Arizona
Mhm.
did, but they're trying to actually put it into practice. And one of the people on the board was like, I don't understand why this is taking so long. Da, da, da. And like it just like lithium polish, it's not that hard. And it's like, sir, you are endo and you graduated 47 years ago. So
Yeah.
like there is no world where I think you have a grasp on the skill set it takes to
Yeah.
do anything outside of
Yeah.
what you have been
Mhm.
doing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so respectfully, shut your mouth. So I
Yeah.
think that this is the problem is that they think because our jobs are so easy, or the high assistants that they oversee, or everything is just so easy, and
Mhm.
because they're the, top man on the totem pole, they can dictate all of the things, and they have no clue what they're
Mhm.
doing and what they're talking about. So we should
Yep.
absolutely have our own board with our
Yep.
peers on it.
Amen, sister.
Yep.
Amen. Preach it on
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
hilltops. This is
Yeah.
exactly when I don't understand why they're allowed to be the ones like training the OPA to be
Yeah.
a baby hygienist. And I'm just like,
Yep.
and we get pushback so much.
Yeah.
And even when our friends listen to like our podcast, and they're like, why do you guys care about that? You just clean teeth. And I'm like,
I've had other hygienists tell me that, and I'm like,
Well, and
but this is the common thought.
it
yeah,
is.
I, I'm gonna throw this out there, and I'm gonna say, and I've said this before, so I'm sure people have already heard this out of my mouth. I taught for 9 years. I have a master's in dental hygiene education. I could teach a monkey to scale teeth. And if you want to only scale teeth, you know what?
Mhm.
I'd honestly relinquish some of that to you. Because
Yeah.
what defines me as a good hygienist is not scaling teeth. However,
Mm.
because our industry is based off of this, we have in some ways kind of did this to ourselves.
Mhm.
We're seen as scalers, and I
Mhm.
understand wanting to protect that. At one in one side of this conversation, I understand protecting the thing that has defined us for so long, while also going, well, what if we do give it to some people that want to scale super gingival? Like, you know what? I don't want to do scale like calculus off lower anteriors that's like shellacked and sheet like on, been there forever. Like, I'd rather do some of the harder stuff and do sleep and bio and Botox
Mhm.
and HPV.
Mhm.
I'd rather do all of those other things. So I say this, I know I kind of talking outside both sides of my mouth in a way. I understand wanting to protect scaling
Mhm.
and how hard it is and how much skill it does take, and how much effort we had to go through to get to this place, while also going, but
Yeah.
what if we do more? What if we
Right.
progress
This
dental
could
hygiene?
be
What
a
if we
door
leave
that's
this in the
opening.
dust?
Yes.
Not dust, but or we just say like this is a small piece of
Yeah.
the puzzle that we do as hygienists
Mm.
that make
Mhm.
happy, healthy, long-term
Yeah.
outcome patients.
Is
So
this an
it's a
opportunity to
weird
change our
place.
I love that.
educational
That's
like
interesting.
Yes,
I
I
like
think
that because
so.
I feel, yeah. And I feel like
this
it could open doors where it's like, now
yeah.
we can be more of that healthcare hygienist. We can
Yeah.
add more scope to our
Well, look at
practice.
Canada.
That's
Like
interesting. Yeah.
Canada's boards are outcome based.
I'm Canadian. I've done
Do you
both.
Okay, so tell me, what is it like when you're doing it in Canada with the outcome based? Or at least that's what they used to tell
Well,
me
this
it
was
was the
forever years ago,
yeah.
26 years ago. I will say the Canadian boards were much, much harder than the US boards.
Like from
Way harder.
a
Like from like,
didactic or a theory standpoint, or
I
an
feel
actual
like the
physical skill
Canadian
set?
boards were like, well, we didn't have clinicals. There was no
See, this is what
clinicals.
I'm saying. This is crazy.
We do it all. What do you do in school? I've cried many a tears
Clinicals.
in school where they're like, you failed because you're like a speckule of calculus on distal of 15,
Hmm.
where you're running to the bathroom and tears are shed. Like, we've been through that. We know, like, why do we need to do a clinical to show if we can scale teeth when we've
We
been
already
doing it
passed
for
that.
like 2 to
Yeah.
4 years? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I just think it's mind blowing. But the written it was all case studies
Yeah.
for 8 hours.
Which
And it was
I
like A to
understand and I
G.
like.
It's good.
Oh,
My brain cells almost fried, but it'd be like
oh,
there
for
was more
sure.
than one right
Don't give
answer.
them now to me. I don't want to
A,
do that
B,
now.
G,
No.
H, K. It wasn't like one or two. It was like, whereas the
The thing
US,
I
I
would
just
like
find
is
it
if
was
I
like
could
A,
choose
B, C.
multiple. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I want to be able to be like, okay, this would be my first pick, but if the patient doesn't say yes, then it would be this, and then
Yeah.
it would be this.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That makes sense.
But yeah, no, it was a
Here,
legit 8 hours of case studies, like long case studies.
that's tough. That's
And that's
tough.
why it
But
took like a year before I did my US boards. Cause like coming out of school and doing my program was it was like 13 classes a semester. So after doing 13 exams in a week, going straight into the Canadian boards, I was like, I can't do the US boards right now.
no,
I
I
need
need
a
a break.
break.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I need a break.
Yeah.
But I think that makes so much sense because I want to prove that I can connect the dots.
Yeah.
I want to prove
Mhm.
that I can see a human sitting in my chair, be given some
Mhm.
information about this, and choose, I guess, type 1, type 2, type 3, like the things that might work for them. Because also, which I know this is going to be a bold statement. The other thing that, sorry, I think these people think I'm trying to take stuff out of my pile out there. Sorry. There's like people outside trying to take stuff out.
Uh-oh. Go get him.
I know. I'm like, are you gonna do it? I don't want to be like running out here. But I would say the thing that I like to also challenge in our industry is this, like, if you aren't doing SRP and they're not saying yes to scaling and route planning, then they can't sit in your chair again until they accept SRP. I do not believe in that. I believe in, like, would that be my most ideal situation? Sure, sure. But there's so many reasons that people say no to things. These people are killing me. Hold on.
To see, I think your
Hi.
school was a very interesting point because
Oh, no,
I
it's
think
okay. I
what
gotta take you to the
that
car.
proved was that we learned how to work clinically
Thank you.
while you were in school. And then that test proved that we were much more than just those scalers
Yep.
because you had to sit there and listen to everything and put those case studies
Yeah.
together. So you automatically were proven at the beginning that you were more than just dental scalers. You were a full body, whole health clinician from the beginning.
Yeah.
So why can't
So,
America follow that?
but even I always tell people too, like even the way that we code in the US compared to how Canada does it, very different. Like I wish we could
Sorry.
adapt
It's like
the
following me
Canadian
now.
system.
I'm sorry. I've distracted everybody on this. My
Oh, you're
That's
apologies.
all right.
fine. No,
We
I was
kept going with
just
your thought process because I wonder
because
if this is an
Canada's different.
opportunity to change our
Canada's
education system.
I want the US to adapt what we do in Canada. Well, I say it like I practiced there. It hasn't
Yeah.
been 2 decades, but
But what about? What about
there's
with
no
this level?
coding. There's no coding
Yeah.
like the US does in
I
Canada.
hate the coding here so much
It's
because,
such a greedy system.
like, can I
Mm.
ask you then about
Yeah.
that? Because I am a little more curious. So, for instance, with diagnostic codes and healthcare here, and I always talk about this situation from my own medical stuff. I've had a lot of gut health issues. I had a birth defect that nobody discovered until I was 37 when I almost died from my intestines twisting.
Oh,
Like,
Oh.
jeez.
but I was also a hygienist without health care, for most of my career. So when they're like, we need to do this and this and this, and I was like, I can't do any of this right now. I can't take off of work. I can't do all these things. But I still showed up for my exams and I still got my Prilosec and over the counter acid, like all these other
Mhm.
things. But because I was saying no to the other stuff, they weren't dismissing me as a patient. And so I'm like,
Yep.
as a hygienist, I would love to code them properly, say, you have periodontal disease, you have these things. Is that kind of what's happening in Canada? Is where you're coding them correctly for
There is
diagnostic?
really no coding like we do here. So if
Oh,
anyone
how do
listening,
you?
I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I have not practiced in a long time in Canada, but we get like 10 to 16 units of scaling a year, depending on your insurance
Okay.
coverage. Each unit is 15 minutes, which I think right now is like 50 or
Okay.
$60. I could be wrong. Someone message us. I'm not sure. But if you need scaling a root planing, okay, if you have a prophy, you might be using 2 units. If you're an SRP, you might be using 4 or 5 units, but you have, say, up to 16 a year to use however it is you want to.
I like that though.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Does
they
it
get
roll
paid
over
more.
ever?
No,
Probably
no,
not.
that's
Yeah.
why, but at least, come in every 3 months. You can,
Yeah.
you
See,
know,
that's so cool. That's so cool.
you
But
know,
obviously, y'all don't have the side where they have to, like, financially now figure out how to pay $1,000 out of pocket and come in for their dental scaling and replaning,
yeah,
which for I think a lot of families can't do that. Like, not even a little
right.
bit. They're barely living
Yeah.
paycheck to paycheck.
Mm.
And it's
And
sad
so
because
what?
I wish the US, but I feel like the US is just, it's a greedy, money making, insurance,
Yeah.
driven. It drives me crazy
Yeah.
because I wish it
And
could
we
be
did
like
it
that
to
because you
ourselves.
could do so
And
much more.
yeah. Oh,
Not
we
everyone, and
could
I get it.
really
Some people don't
make a
have,
big
if you're
difference.
retired, and now in Canada, if you make under 90,000 a year, all your preventative hygiene's covered.
Wow. That's nice.
You're also
Just to
paying
have
Lovely.
you're also paying about
How lovely.
60% of your income to God knows where, but you
at
get
least you can get
taxed.
in dental
You
care.
get taxed up
Yeah,
the
you get
ass
your
in
dental
Canada,
care, and it
you
probably
know?
doesn't go to war like it does
And
in
if,
the United
God
States of
forbid, you get into an
America.
accident and need something, you can get, now if you're need an MRI, you might be waiting 12 months and die in the process. But if it's emergency care, it's great.
It's great. Yeah.
See, Michelle, I
No,
feel
the
like
pros and
all
cons.
of these like breaks in the system must be what really pushed you towards moving into your entrepreneurial state. Cause you were like, listen, I see a need. I want to move into it. Um, how,
Yeah.
where's the
How
inspiration? How do you tell
to do
people how to
that?
even begin to that?
I will tell you, I think I just got to a place in my 20 years where I was tired of asking to do the right thing. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the best way to sum it up. In the last 10 years, I have had access to a lot of cool things, right? So I've been speaking, I had a podcast, I've been an evaluator of products, I had social media. So, like, people send me things. I learned
Mm-hmm.
things where I'd say, oh my gosh, why are we not doing this? Like, when I tell you
Yeah.
GBT and SDF from the moment it came out, I said, absolutely,
Mm-hmm.
sign me up, put me in coach, right? Like I was ready for it, but then I had to go and like sell people on it, and then I
Yeah.
had to educate them, and then it was like I don't know how we're going to do it. And then I even had admin pushback because they don't want to do the extra
Mm-hmm.
work on things.
Yeah.
And I just got to a place in 20 years where I was like, I'm so over this. And
Yeah.
I had what I felt was a really good network that I could go and help me be an entrepreneur. I think I
Mm-hmm.
had to go through a lot of hard things, and I learned a lot of hard lessons legally and in a business that I had prior to this, that I was like, well, I think I've learned all the crazy things I could go out and do this on my own and feel confident. I'm not saying every day is a good day. I'm not saying I'm getting it right every single week, but I can say that I genuinely love knowing that if I have a patient in my chair, that I have a armamentarium that I can pick and choose from without having to
Mm-hmm.
ask permission to use anything
Amen.
within my scope.
That's
That's glorious.
yeah.
That's
It
What a
just to
is.
be able
feeling.
I feel like I'm getting to the point where I'm a bad employee because it's like I'm not like I don't want to have to ask permission to do the right thing like you said.
No.
This
Yeah.
is what I see. This is what the person presents to me and also to your point earlier about dismissing them if they say no to like the Bentley of the treatment, if we're doing what they can do, I think that's the most honest thing we can do to treat the person that's actually in the chair.
Yes.
Meet
And
them where they are. That's what we're supposed to
100%.
do.
And I'd love to go back to that just real quick because I just want to make sure I'm clear, because I'm not telling people to not properly diagnose and to coast with
No.
their patients or have supervised neglect or any of
Mm-mm.
those things. I'm saying as much as there's informed consent, there is informed refusal as
Yeah.
well,
Mhm.
as a
Agreed.
person in this healthcare system that we are a part of.
Autonomy. Yep.
And if I don't know always what's going on in that person's life or in their bank
Mhm.
account or in their head. And so
Mhm.
if I can just slowly plant seeds or
Yeah.
Mhm.
engage them in certain ways that maybe I can pull out the reasons. Or sure, we coast until they can do
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
I'd
Agreed.
rather see them in my chair, and I say for a profit because that's literally the only thing I have to do
Mhm.
outside of maybe a 43, 46. But I can't call it perio maintenance or whatever it is until I do the SRP.
Yeah.
We are very much in a box. And so I sometimes scribble outside of that box occasionally. And so if I'm going to have them in my chair, I know my inflammatory reduction that I do during that appointment and the oral hygiene coaching that I do and the medical review and the oral cancer screening and potentially the x-rays and all the other things I do outside of
Mhm.
scaling people's teeth does
Mhm.
matter, and it
Mhm.
counts towards that patient moving the needle
Yes.
forward. And so this
Yes.
idea that they don't get to sit in my chair, and I get real worked up about this because it makes me insane to think
Yeah.
that I'm going to deny somebody
Yeah.
an opportunity for an oral cancer screening. I'm going to deny them of their blood pressure I'm going to deny them
Yeah.
of all
Mhm.
these things because they said no to my SRP treatment plan. Blows my mind.
Yeah.
Blows my
Mhm.
mind.
Yeah. I
But I
mean,
think that goes
that's
back
the interest.
to us doing more than
Yeah.
scaling teeth.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because you just proved how much more it is. And
Yeah.
of course, I feel like it goes back to the point that we're always, well, usually we're the people that they see the most, right? They're not going to their doctor, they're not
Yes,
going to their nurse.
Yeah.
sometimes.
And we're
Yeah.
supposed to be these primary healthcare providers, and we're being like dismissive because they won't do the full thing. They're doing what they can.
But how do we change
They're
this?
doing
Because
what
it's
they can,
How do
almost,
we
and
change it?
how
yes.
do we change it? Because it's almost like if you don't, it's like, well, if you get audited, we were going to lose your license. Why? If someone
Mhm.
doesn't want to do it, why
Right.
does it affect my license? Where else in healthcare does this happen? If
And
a nurse tells you
honestly,
to take this
audit
medication
me.
and you say no, yeah,
Yes, please come audit me. Know that every single time they come in, I'm recording bleeding points, I'm recording
Mhm.
probing depths, I'm
Mhm.
recording HPV conversations. I'm recording. Please come audit, and like you'll see that I do more in just their assessment phase than most people do
Yes.
ever in their appointments, and that matters
True.
too.
yeah,
Because
it
you're
does.
progressive. And see, and I think that this is one of the biggest lessons that we can learn because we're at almost an hour
Yeah,
already.
here we
Oh
go.
One of the
gosh.
biggest lessons from today's conversation is that the future of this profession is not going to be created or pushed forward by people who want to stay comfortable
No,
or
Oh,
care
girl.
about ruffling
Mhm.
other people's feathers
no.
or the status quo. You have to get out there and push forward. And when you see an opportunity and you see a human who needs our help, you go help them.
So
Yes.
what would you say to other hygienists right now that have dreams of doing more but don't know where to start? Like where would you tell them to go or
I
what to
would
do?
say, like, really think about like what lights you up. What lights you up
Mhm.
in your career and the things that you do day in and day out? Maybe it's the educational component, and maybe you'd be a
Mhm.
great teacher, and maybe you want to get your degree in like dental hygiene education or something like that. Maybe it's in the sales component because some people
Mhm.
love that treatment plan. They
Yeah.
love to get in there. Me, I'd rather die. So, like, there are some people that are going to light up and do that. Maybe sales is great for you.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Maybe legislation, and please
Yeah.
get involved in
Mm.
legislation.
If you
The
love
way
it,
that
please.
yeah, because the things I've seen these women in Colorado do to get to a place where I can actually access this and do this. I'm eternally grateful for all the people
Mhm.
working on this since the 80s
Mhm.
and continue to
Please.
work on it here in Colorado. So get involved there, build a network, and you know what? Keep learning, and learn outside of things that you ever thought about.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
historically have been in perio my whole career. I just took a 12-week cardiology course from Dr. Ryan Nolan, hurt my
Oh,
brain
nice.
every which
Yeah.
way possible. But it was great. And now the way that I'm applying that to my current treatment has changed everything.
Mm.
I know that financially, sometimes it's a big risk to go out there and get your education or take these
Mhm.
courses or whatever it is. So I don't want to tell people to strap themselves financially. I am a Taurus. I throw money at every problem that I have, sometimes to my own detriment, but it has served me really well because I really take that and run with it once I get it.
Yeah.
That's true. And I think
That's
there's enough people who are like us and these kind of pusher forwarders who
Yeah.
are trying to even put out free information to
I
just
like that.
like to hook somebody into being curious about
yeah.
something new. And there, I mean, don't stay bored, right? Don't learn the same thing over and over again. There's plenty of free courses out there that could stoke your curiosity and then you
Oh,
won't
so
waste the
true.
money. Cause I
Yeah.
mean, I felt exactly the same way at the beginning of my career when I was super frustrated by what I thought hygiene was going to box me into. I was seriously considering going back and
Yeah.
becoming a chiropractor. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, Yeah, I was so frustrated with hygiene and what I was like up against and how it was not what I was told in school. The real world rocked me, but then I had to again just push through everything and get curious and then find something that lit me up. And
Yeah.
it did. And so again, here we all are 20 plus years later, as excited to be a hygienist as we were the day we graduated, but we're actually making a difference out there.
Yeah.
So I think
Totally
it's awesome.
agree. I do
So
too.
Thank
yeah.
you guys. Yes.
What a great episode. Oh,
Right?
Michelle, we're gonna
Thanks.
have you on like every other week.
Yeah.
I don't
I
Is
would
that
love
okay?
it.
All right, because I think this is going to be great.
Yeah.
This is the
No,
beginning of a
that's
beautiful
good.
friendship.
Yeah.
Yes, and good luck with all your podcasting, and
Thank
thank you
you.
for being unhinged and talking about this because
Yeah,
I
All
know
of it.
I know it's not a lot of it's not easy to podcast. So
No,
congratulations.
but we're
and
doing it.
Thanks.
Good luck.
We're learning. We
But it's
are
so much
learning new
fun.
things.
And it's
Yeah,
fun to
it
connect
is.
with other
absolutely.
people who are like-minded, and
Yeah.
it's so wonderful. Like, it's
Yeah.
great.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
I
Thanks for being
agree.
here. Thanks
thank
for
you
what you're
so
doing for the
much.
profession. Thanks for the chat and all
Yes.
like I know our brains are going right now.
Yeah. What more could I be doing in this ADHD
Exactly.
brain of mine? Here we go.
Same,
Well,
Michelle,
always.
Yes.
what do you want to say on the way out? Like you got a little inspirational quote or where to find you or what's next? What's up?
I would say, yeah, follow me on Instagram, Michelle Strange RDH. I also have my infection control social media, which is Level Up Infection Prevention. Please, everybody, think about patient safety first and foremost, because patient safety is professional safety. So when you think about patients, you're keeping yourself safe too. And just always keep asking questions, stay curious, and together we're stronger. Together, we're stronger for
Absolutely.
sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
That's
Thank you.
right.
And I will put all your socials in
Thank
what
you.
you call that box underneath
Yeah.
Yeah.
the thing, the caption.
You have so much you're doing. You're so much you're doing, and I don't know how you do it all
yes.
in 1 week or 1 day or one lifetime, but push
It's
through,
a
girl.
lot.
Yeah.
I
Keep doing
love it. I appreciate it.
That's it.
Thank you so much. And there's another episode, right, of the Unhinged Hygienist. So we'll see you all next Wednesday, and hopefully we'll see Michelle here again soon.
Okay. All right. Bye.
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 Bye.